It was a dark night for three young girls on June 13, 1977. A story that will leave millions of Americans still wondering, who is the murderer? It all began in Oklahoma at a camp named Camp Scott. These murders were foretold 2 months prior to the camp these girls attended. Normally when going to a camp, the only worry you should naturally have is meeting new people and being somewhere you're not usually at. Not for these girls. To start off this story, there were 140 scouts headed to Camp Scott for a total of 2 weeks. The camp was split into 10 different units, and within these units were 8 total tents. The way that the tent assignments worked was that each girl was given a certain tent depending on age. Now, as far as campsite positioning, the girls were already in the most secluded Kiowa unit. And to make matters worse, Tent 8 was the most secluded tent in that unit. It's no wonder these girls were able to be taken and go unnoticed until the next morning. Now, it's 6 p.m. on June 12th, the night before the murders. The girls are already eaten dinner and are writing notes home to their families. By then, a rather large thunderstorm is beginning to brew around 7 p.m. Once the girls started to settle in their tents, the beginning of a horrendous night was about to begin. During the night, reports of young girls screaming were heard, and only dismissed as sounds of the forest, all while Dennis Milner, Michelle Goose, and Lori Lee were beaten, raped, and killed, and no one cared to check to see what was happening. On June 13th, it was an early morning for one of the counselors in the Kiowa unit. She discovered the lifeless, beaten body of Doris Milner laying in a sleeping bag only inches away from her tent. The authorities were immediately contacted after the discovery of Doris. Only moments later, Lori Farmer and Michelle Goose's body were discovered not much farther from the discovery of Doris's body, both of which were found in their sleeping bags as well. Michelle and Doris were bound up and gagged, obviously sexually assaulted. As for Lori, it's still unsure if she was raped or not. For the rest of the day, the camp was told to pack and leave, and all parents were informed to pick up their kids. All have been told an accident occurred, but no further details were given out. The parents of the 3 girls were only told that their girls had died at the camp, but no other information was given out. It wasn't until media reports came out that the parents found out their daughters had been murdered. Now, the investigation. Mays County Sheriff Pete Weaver led the investigation of these murders. However, this investigation turned messy really quick. It turned into a free-for-all for all the investigators, with the area not secure and anyone going in and out as they please. Forensics not good at the time, and the swabs good for nothing essentially. All that was gathered was that the girls were attacked in their tent and carried outside to where they would meet their end. Jean Leroy Hart. Jean Leroy Hart was the #1 suspect on the list. He was a 33-year-old convicted rapist serving a life sentence. At the time, he was an escaped convict on the run for 10 months until discovered 50 miles from the campsite. The evidence against Hart wasn't strong enough to make him guilty. However, days later, some hunters discovered a cave with an interesting note that read 77-617. The killer was here. Bye bye, fools. The trial. For the trial of March of 1979, there were 5 factors that led into Hart's innocence. Number 1, the bloody footprint was too small to be Hart's. Number 2, the fingerprints didn't match his. Number 3, the swabs taken were similar to Hart's but did not match his completely. 4, the hair looked like Hart's, but no one could really say it was his. Number 5, they emphasized that evidence was planted on him to make it seem like he was guilty. After the jury ruled Hart not guilty, he was taken back to prison to finish his 305-year sentence due to his, previous sentences of being a rapist. However, 2 months after the trial, Hart suffered a major heart attack and died. Up to today, the case still goes unsolved, even by today's technologies. Many, millions, I would say, would agree that Hart was guilty, but he didn't do it alone. There's strong evidence that it was 2 perpetrators instead of 1. Comment below what you think and what you've read or heard about this story. As always, stay spooky, and thank you for watching this video.